Hello gamers and welcome back. I'm Rob, of course, or Warshack if you want to call me by my in-game name. And our first deck guide of the new cards we're going to do is the Cancer 100%, the Pirate Warrior deck. So the reason being we're doing this deck first is because first, it's probably the most popular deck at the moment. I would just have to say over 50% of ladder consists of this particular deck. Whether the cards, their couple could be a variance, minus this plus this on a 1 to 2 card level, but the core of the deck remains the same. So I figured it's best that we cover the most popular and probably the strongest deck first, because those of you who may not actually want to play this deck or you want nothing to do with it, it's very important to know what this deck can and can't do when playing against it, so you can play around certain things that you may not think were possible or could not expect. So that's why I'm kind of covering this deck first, so you guys can see the inner workings. Not that there's a whole lot there, but for some of you who are newer, or you just haven't attempted the ladder yet, it's going to come to a big surprise when you go against something like this. So we're going to cover it first. And like I always say, knowing your opponent's deck is almost as valuable as knowing your own. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with our deck guide, we're going to talk about the cards in the deck, why I have what I have in here, some of the combination synergies and the inner workings. From there, we're going to head into ranked play, where we're going to play the deck. We're going to show off the mulligans, what you should be looking for, and basically how to play the deck, even though it's really not that hard. Unfortunately, Blizzard continues to pump out the best decks in Hearthstone, being most of the time the most easiest decks to play, which is the standard route that this deck follows. So our turn 1 play, you're always looking for the Nazos first mate or the small-time Buccaneer. Sir Finley Merkleton is okay depending on your matchup. Let's say you're going against Priest. Obviously, this is probably a good keep, as you're going to want the Hunter hero power or the Warlock hero power to be able to sustain and to kill them, or to kill them as quickly as possible. But most other matchup, the small-time Buccaneer and the Nazos first mate are what you're looking for. And they've introduced a new pirate called Patches the Pirate. This guy has charge, and he says after you play a pirate, summon this minion from your deck. So keep in mind when you drop the Nazos first mate or the small-time Buccaneer, if this guy is not in your hand, he'll come from your deck onto the field, where you're able to basically deal an additional 1 damage. He counts as the pirate. This is basically what makes this deck so very good right now. And you could be like, oh, he's just a Stone Tuskboar. He's not that great. But the thing that makes this deck so great is literally this card right here. This card is absolutely insane. You generate free value and tempo from essentially nothing. Like, you don't have to pay anything. The small chance that you draw him in your opening hand. Granted, that's really bad. But most of the time, the 99 or the 95% of the other time that this guy's not in your opening hand, it's just an insane card. The Buccaneer is basically the Cog Master of the pirate class. He's a 1-drop 1/2, and it has +2 attack while you have a weapon. Most of the time, you're going to have a weapon in your hand or on the field, whether it's from the Nazos First Mate upgrade, Fiery War Axe, or the Arcane Reaper. So definitely a very solid card. The upgrade essentially has been in the Pirate Warrior deck for a very long time now. It allows your weapon to gain an extra durability, which is what makes it really good, but also an extra attack, which is nice. So it allows it to keep dealing the max damage over time. And you could drop a like a War Axe on turn 2 and just keep upgrading it and using your Bloodsail Cultist to basically just keep the same weapon alive for long periods of time, dealing extensive amount of damage over the course of the game, which is insane. So definitely a very solid card. And the fact that it only costs 1 mana, you can really fit it in on turns that you normally, you play 2 creatures, drop an upgrade, or a creature and an upgrade. It works out well, fits out with the curve. The Double Ooze is a tech choice right now because this deck is so popular. You're going to be playing against this deck so much, which makes the Double Ooze pretty nice. Obviously, as this deck becomes less popular, or you don't want to tech against it, removing an ooze and adding in an extra horse rider instead of double ooze is totally fine as well. But currently I'm going with the double ooze plan. More times than not, my opponent drops a weapon and I want to have an ooze to kill it. You're wanting to ooze their War Axe or their Arcane Reaper. Normally oozing like the Nazos First Mate weapon isn't good, or just an upgrade by itself, but if they decide to upgrade the Nazos First Mate so it turns into like a 2/4 or 2/3, oozing that is fine as well. The Bloodsail Raider in combination with having a weapon down is insane. Your 2-drop turns into like a 5/3 if you have the War Axe down, or even a 7/3 if you've got the Arcane Reaper, which is just crazy. If they don't kill her, you basically win the game, which basically follows the same mentality of when you drop a Frothing Berserker and they don't kill it. The longer it stays on the field, the bigger the threat becomes. The bigger the threat, the more damage you do, the faster you hit them to 0. Warshack staple, not going to explain that. Heroic Strike, whether you're using this to clear or to push face, 2 mana for 4 damage. I mean, that's pretty good. This deck is meant to go face, and this is a good face card. The Horse Rider is a great 3-drop with charge. It allows you to trade into minions right off the bat that you normally wouldn't. Currently, dealing 1 damage to minions isn't like really popular right now. So like normally this card would be very weak to cards such as like Revenge, what is it? Ravaging Ghoul, things of that nature, but nobody's playing those cards right now. So if you want to go next level, play yourself some Cthulhu Warrior, put double Revenge, double Ravaging Ghoul, and like Blood to Ichor in there, you'll do yourself just fine. Not that I said that. The Bloodsail Cultist is a staple, the whole Pirate Warrior, and it basically has an upgrade attached to it if you have another pirate on the field. As you can see, most of the cards in this deck are pirates, so you having the synergy there, so it's basically a 3/4 body with an upgrade attached to it. We've explained why upgrade's good. The Frothing Berserker is a staple in the deck. It's one of the cards, just like the Bloodscale Raider. When you play it, your opponent has to deal with it. The Bloodscale Raider, let me keep in mind that when I say they have to deal with it, that's only if you buff it, turn into like a 5/3 or something like that. If it's just the 2/3 pirate that you drop and they don't have if you don't have a weapon out, then I don't have to deal with it. But the Frothing Berserker, whenever any minion takes damage, he gains +1 attack. It's just craziness. You get this guy to like 10 attack in 2 turns, and then you just OTK your opponent. Dread Corsair is good because it costs 1 less for every attack for your weapons. As we've seen and we talked about before, a large portion of the deck is being able to buff your weapons. So most of the time you're playing Dread Corsair on either turn 3 after you played your War Axe, and you're going to play him for 1 mana, or if you've upgraded, you can play him for most of the time free if you have the Reaper out, or if you've obtained your War Axe 2/4 attack. The Elite is charge, 4-drop, 4/3 damage. You can't go wrong with the stats. You can't go wrong with charge. Face damage is good. Mortal Strike is basically your really bad fireball of the warrior class. It only does 6 damage unless you have 12 health or less. So a lot of the times you'll actually hold on to Mortal Strike, and you'll use your Heroic Strike ahead of the time, because Heroic Strike requires you to attack face, and if there's a taunt minion in the way, you can't go around it with Heroic Strike. But Mortal Strike is basically a target spell, so you're able to go around taunts. So you want to use your normally weapons and weapon buffs first to go face, because if they end up dropping a taunt as like the last survival, or they top deck it or something, having this as a backup plan is always nice. The Reaper is your huge burst in the deck, and your sustained damage when you're able to play this and use upgrades, and your Bloodsail Cultist on it, it's huge. And your Leroy Jenkins is your final finisher, normally playing this to finish up the game or clearing out a taunt minion that gets in your way. And yeah, so that basically talks about all the cards in the deck, why I have what I have in here, and we'll head right into the ranked games now, so hopefully you'll enjoy.
Alrighty, so heading into our first game here, we are 1 game away from being on a win streak and going into rank 7, which is quite nice. So hopefully we can just rank up the 3 easy wins in a row, and we'll be able to do that with an opening hand like this, which feels pretty good. So I think we can actually put back the N'Zoth's First Mate, because turn 2 will most likely be the War Axe. So we just hope we don't draw patches in the opening hand, which is like one of the worst things that can happen in this deck, like I've discussed when we were talking about the individual cards. But it looks like our curve is pretty nice. Also, when you first start playing this deck, understanding that when you play a pirate, this guy comes out. I've seen a lot of people just play their pirate and end the turn. So just keep in mind that this guy is going to come out, and yeah. So no turn 2 play from him. So again, just pushing face. Unfortunately, this is just one of those decks, guys. This is the core of it. I'm sorry, but it's just understanding this deck and knowing how much damage it can do, what cards are in it, and all that good stuff is very important. So we can go ahead and drop the Frothing or the Horse Rider. Either or is okay. I think the Frothing is the best bet right now. I know this guy pushes more damage face, but this guy, he has to Shadow Bolt it. That's the only card in his deck that actually can deal with this, unless he Soul Fires. And if he Soul Fires, he's going to discard a card, and hopefully that card is Reno Jackson. So we'll see if he does. Okay. So we're going to actually go ahead and we don't have a pirate out, so there's no way to keep this alive with that. We go ahead and summon the Elite, which I think is key here. So we're going to swing into this. It's going to heal us both for 4. We're going to play the Elite. And now we're going to go face. Well, we can actually trade into here, increasing this guy's attack by 2. Or we can play around Mortal Coil, attack into here, and then swing this face. The problem is,
We're going on Hellfire turn, so I'd rather play around Hellfire by making that trade and then swinging this in. Because if we would have made the Berserker into here, this goes face, he Hellfires, and we've got nothing going on. Currently, if he Hellfires, we're just totally okay. Because this still lives. I really wish Leroy got summoned. But that didn't happen. Alright, so you can just go ahead and play this bad boy. This trades. This trades. We know that he's not playing weapons, so we can go ahead and drop the ooze, and we just go face. And the only card in his deck right now is Leroy, and I don't... did he use coin? I don't know. Coin Leroy does it, but, I mean, it's still a lot of damage. So we kept our win streak. We're going into 7 with 2 stars. Feels good, man. And, yeah. And keep in mind, guys, playing aggro decks is not what I want to do. But again, like I said at the beginning of this video, knowing this deck, what it can do, the damage it can push, and will help you, first of all, play against it, build decks around defeating it, and just gaining a better understanding of it. Not that it requires a whole lot, but still good to know. So we're going to be playing against another Pirate Warrior, which is basically a 50-50 matchup. Whoever draws the better hand wins, is how it comes down to. We're going to keep nothing in this opening hand because nothing looks good. We want our 1-drops, our 2-drops, and just not drawing patches is important. Unfortunately, we didn't draw any of our 1-drops, so it's very important that we draw one, and we did. We are such a great Warrior player. So patches comes out, and we go face. So this particular play would most likely be weak to like a Nazas first mate coin, and then the 2/1 would charge. Their Sir Finley's not like a War Axe next turn, or some sort of weapon buff is huge. Because this guy can turn into a 3/2, allowing us to trade into Sir Finley. But the problem is that we can't trade into Sir Finley. Sir Finley actually can do a good amount of work against us because he's a 1/3. He also probably has a 1-drop in his hand because he thought about the coin there. So unfortunately, we're not going to play the ooze because it's very important that we use his weapons. So we're just going to push face. It's a pretty weak turn for us. No weapons and no, yeah. So this could turn into the 2/1 pirate would charge, guys. So if we would have had that, no, wouldn't change much either. So Berserker, trade into the 2/1. This can die to Sir Finley, but he has to now deal with this Berserker. It's only turn 3 for him, which means he's gonna have to coin into like either an Elite or a Mortal Strike to kill this, and then it still gives us initiative next turn. Trades. Okay, putting him at 3. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. He might just concede right there. He does nothing. Okay. Well, this is awkward. So I think we just push face, to be completely honest. I think we just play the... Well, if we play the Cultist, I think the Cultist is our best bet. And then we just push face. His deck does not deal 1 damage nicely, so he's going to have to probably swing into this 2/1 here and Elite this down or Mortal Strike it down. Ooh, an upgrade kills that. Or it can also kill the Elite. The taunt is nice. Brings out patches, allowing him to make this trade that he wouldn't have been able to make basically any other way. And then kills the 2/1. All right, so now we basically drop Reaper. Hope he didn't tech in ooze and he doesn't have it. And we start pushing face. If he drops his Reaper, we ooze. And Warlock is the worst hero power to pick against another warrior, because my whole point is to deal damage to him as quickly as possible. Don't have ooze. Yeah, good. And this basically allows him to just die quicker. It's really, really bad. So we're 1 damage off of lethal right now. So... we could actually Mortal Strike the Berserker. There's merit to that. So we'd Mortal Strike, Bloodsail Raider, go face. Or we just play... This is it's an interesting turn. Because do we ooze just to summon another creature? But he's just gonna double trade it into it anyway, so I don't think we do. I think we just raid or go face. And Mortal Strike. And then we set up lethal with Leroy. So his only out is to draw the other taunt in his deck. Which he didn't draw. And everybody's playing this guy right now. And we didn't actually talk about him in the deck guide at all. So we'll talk about him at the end of this, why he's not in this deck. Or we can talk about it in between games. We'll talk about it after this. We didn't want to do with the War Axe because that's like makes him feel bad. Feels like, oh, we top decked lethal, or we had it the next turn. It's just like we had it. All right. Yeah, we'll talk about it at the end. We'll go back in the deck list and talk about some stuff that I might have missed out on and all that good stuff. Ooh, that Q was fast as shit. So we're basically one game away from rank 6 now. This is the only deck that can climb ladder this quickly right now, by the way, as well. All right. Another warrior. So pirate warrior will be the determining factor of whether we hit rank 6 right now or not. So Mortal Strike, not something we want. The cultist is okay, but not what we want. As long as, again, we don't draw patches, we are in the clear. No patches, we're in the clear. Ooze is nice, because if he decides he wants to coin into the War Axe, we can just ooze it down now. And if he doesn't do that and we can draw into a weapon, then we can play the Raider and the Cultist the following turn. So we've got a lot of good options here, but unfortunately it still can be beaten, as this deck is still a 50-50. So coin into War Axe, taking out our 1-2, setting us up for a good ooze. This is why this is in the deck, and we run 2 of them. It's for this particular matchup. Wada! All right, so now he's gonna drop another Fiery War Axe. And we're gonna lose this bad boy. Oh, feels good. Alright, so now just don't have a really solid turn 3 play. Don't fuck me. You already had double War Axe, which was an amazing start. Upgrade. Alright, no up. Oh, actually, he may still have upgrade. All right, no upgrade, but he has the charger, which is really good for him. And this trades into here. All right, so now we want N'Zoth's first mate. That is our best pickup. Not exactly the best pickup. Because he has board control, which is more important than a health differential, because in one turn you can swing the health. So having double cultists is like really, really bad. Unfortunately, we can't upgrade and play cultists because we don't have a pirate down. So theoretically, I mean, we could play the upgrade and then play our raider. I mean, it's the, if we do nothing, or we could just play the cultist by ourselves, but unfortunately it doesn't do a whole lot. But it's not bad, right? Because then turn 5 rolls, but we want to have a weapon because we have 2 of these guys in our hand. So if we like do this, I mean, we could do this and kill one of those and not just play the raider. I think this happens. And we know this dies. And now the question is, which one of these do we play? This turns into a 3-3 and dies to this. This lives. He has to trade more into that. So I'm going to choose that. And the next turn we can drop these 2 and it's going to upgrade this. Oh man, this is gonna be a close one. It all depends what kind of, if he has like an elite right now or like a berserker, we're in trouble because we can't deal with it unless we, you know, draw our elite. So mortal striking that really doesn't make a difference. This is going to allow us to put the tempo back in our favor because we can Raider, Bloodsail. This goes to a 2-3. We kill off this. It's good stuff. Reaper is probably a good draw soon. Berserker. Unfortunately we can't play that right now. So this goes, and then this dies. And now it's back in our favor. So now, Reaper for him. Cultist, bringing that to a 2-2. That's good because that's not a whole lot of value. Raider going to a 4-3. Okay, he's going to kill off this. He's going to take quite a bit of damage. And we're going to be able to drop this Berserker. Ooh. So we know we're playing both these, right? This doesn't change no matter what. Now we have to figure out the best trades to make. I think keeping our Berserker alive, or we just go face for 7 here. I don't think we go face. So if we trade here, she dies. If we trade here, go face with that. This lives. This trades into Berserker, and this is at 1. If we can go trade, and Berserker lives. So I think that's our best bet, right? Just get the Berserker to like really high. So as long as he doesn't Mortal Strike this or Elite it down, we're okay. So if he just need 1 turn where he can't deal with this Berserker, and we'll win this game. And I think he has a Heroic Strike in his hand. So, yeah. See, when playing this deck enough, you've got the feeling of what's going on. Him being at 13, though, is really good for us. Because this is extremely low. And this can just go ahead and make this trade. Unless we want to keep our guy alive. And I think we value a Horse Rider more than the weapon. So we're going to kill off this. And then we're going to go face. And armor up. Leroy was the absolute worst draw in the deck, by the way. Our best draw right now is an Elite. Or an Arcane Reaper. That's pretty bad. So there are 2 really, really bad draws in the deck. This can spiral out very quickly if he draws a taunt minion. Oh boy, this is getting close. So this is a Mortal Strike or Heroic Strike if he doesn't play it. Yep, so that's damage from him. There's the Reaper. Or that's an Acidic Swamp Ooze. Could be an Ooze as well. Alright, so that's an Ooze. He still has a chance. If it's not an Ooze and it's not a taunt, we win next turn. So he needs taunt or an Ooze to win. Or to not die. Makes trade. Not taunt, and that's a Heroic Strike or a Mortal Strike because he didn't play it last turn. If it was a creature, he would have played it, so we win. All right, rank 6. Cool. Was that 3 games in a row? I believe it was. And we were already on a win streak with this heading into this video. So I mean, as you can see, this deck is fucking crazy. Like. It's cheap, it's effective, it doesn't require, like, there was parts where we had to pause and figure out, you know, what our odds were, but they weren't in depth, you know, when we play control versus control, right? When it's like that, like, it's deep thought, we're thinking turns and turns ahead, we're not planning to just OTK someone from, you know, 30 to 0 in 5 turns, but I mean, it all depends what you're looking for. If you're looking to climb, you're looking to build a cheap deck, this is your option. So, all right, so like I said, remember the new Warrior Legendary, where is he at? So that we can pan over to him, this guy right here. So you look Battle Cry, give all your weapons in your deck, or your hand in your deck, +1 attack. If he gave them all upgrade, he would be like one of the most broken cards in the game. Like Patches, like on the level of how good Patches is. But because he only gives it +1 attack, it's not as great as what you guys think. Because first of all, he's not a pirate. He's a 2 for 2/2. And right now, if we look at our 2 drops, one of them mitigates their weapon, which is huge. Our other can turn into a 5/3, even bigger, and is a pirate. Our other 2 is the best weapon in the game, and then one of them's better than a Frostbolt. So if we look at this guy and say, is he better than any of that? The answer is no. He's a horrible top deck. It is just, the guy isn't bad. There's just better stuff currently in this deck that we don't need the 1 to 2 extra attack that this guy brings, because we already have upgrades. We already have the Cultist, and he doesn't count weapons in play. So it's like, all right, so the conditions of when this is good, because I know people are gonna like, oh, he's really good, you're a loser. All right, so let's say you're going against Priest and you draw this guy on turn 2 and you haven't drawn any of your weapons or have a weapon in your hands, and you ended up winning because of the extra 2 damage this guy gave your Arcane Reaper. Yes, situations like that will occur, but when you're playing against like another Pirate Warrior, this guy is too slow. And like I said, the ladder, if you can see by the last 2 games we played, 66% of our games, I know 3 games is a really small sample size, but still, it's a very, very prominent deck right now. And playing a card like this, maybe he'll be found later in the meta, but right now he's just not needed. Plus, he's a legendary, right? So he's gonna cost a lot of gold, like a lot of dust to craft, and you should just craft pirate or patches instead, because this guy's found in all pirate decks, and this guy is just a warrior exclusive. So think of it like that. All right, so hopefully you've enjoyed our first deck guide here. For those of you who are new, welcome, and for those of you who are veterans, I appreciate you coming back like always, and feel free to let me know what you think in the comment section below, which I think it's going to be like smork, Rob, you're an asshole, why you playing aggro? But it was, like I said, knowing the deck is really important when playing against it, and this kind of shows you what you're going up against and how to build your deck accordingly. So, as always, I'm Warshack, of course, and happy whatever the hell day it is.